Welcome into the Bro Force Squad podcast, where we are just a bunch of bros drinking beer and talking movies. This is our spoilers review of the Odyssey, and I'm your host, the Mayor, Jeff Hornacek. Joining me is our legal counsel, Ronnie Cycli, to review this movie as we do all of our movie reviews using the 5 Bro Force Squad criteria, which is the acting, the story, our favorite scene, impact of the film, and rewatchability. Cycli, before we dive in, I think important context for our listeners out there. What are your thoughts on Christopher Nolan as a director?
Absolutely love him. I mean, one, he's one of those who's like, he only has so many movies, and like, it's really hard to rank them because there's really not a bad one. We've both talked about. I think we should need to do an episode where we rank them. I think we have before, but even his lesser movies are more to do with the subject matter being too intense to fully understand or grasp more than hey, that's a bad movie. Like Tenet is like, oh, okay, Tenet is maybe my least favorite of his movies, and I'm just like, yeah, man,
Same,
like
but
that
I
just
just
didn't have the
also am
fluidity.
too fucking stupid to understand it.
Yeah, and it's just like, yeah, I think he's a beautiful filmmaker. I'm gonna say that. I think he is so able and so good at just the cinematography ability and just like making you feel as a viewer, like whether it's a superhero movie like Batman or the Odyssey or you know, Inception, or my God, we can just go down the line. And like to me, Interstellar is one of like, just, man, that makes me feel all the feels.
Yeah, he is. Jordan Peele is in this group, but he's like kind of started to lose me. But he is just an appointment director for me, where it's like when he announces a project before we even have any information on it, on the plot, on the cast, although his cast is kind of the same stable of actors, I say I'm seeing that in theaters,
Yeah.
regardless of what it is. All right, acting and cast. I mean, not only does Nolan dig back into the bag of, you know, his usuals, but this is star-studded, almost to the point where like it kind of like distracted in a bit of a way, because this movie you really have to remove yourself from like a sense of realism or like the world we live in, and seeing all these movie stars on screen makes it a little bit difficult for me at least. But there's some huge names here, and again, I think almost everybody in this, with the exception of Tom Holland, to my knowledge, Nolan has worked with before. So what did you think of the performances in the Odyssey?
Which is funny because like that is a very Nolan thing to do, right? Like if he likes you and he's gonna stick with you, and I think there's a respect for like also like these actors want to come back to him over and over. Like we can talk about like James Cameron or like how people feel about him and like just nightmare to work for or whatever, you know, but like still produces great movies. But these actors clearly love filming for him. And I mean, there's a lot we could talk about, like the fact that like he doesn't use green screen as much as like he does his sets. Everything he's done is like specific and artistic. So I think when actors have the ability to be in these movies, they get excited because it's unlike other movies they get to do. So like you said, Matt Damon, Tom Holland, Anne Hathaway, Robert Pattinson, like Zendaya, Charlize Theron, like, you know, like, I mean, even my boy Paul Leguizamo, who I didn't even know he was in this. Like, I love him from the '90s Romeo and Juliet. But um, here's my thing about this film. Like, I think Matt Damon was fantastic. Like, I think he was an absolute perfect person to cast in this. I'm going to go a little controversial. I didn't love all of the performances. I don't know if it was like because I didn't buy in fully. I was taken out a little bit. I think it was a mistake to have everyone do American accents, specifically like Tom Holland and Robert Pattinson. Um, I felt like that diluted, especially with the complexity of the dialogue. And you know, it's already difficult to go from ancient Greek to English, and like everyone talks about how hard that is to do. But I felt like it limited some of the performances. Tom Holland, I felt like I usually like him. I thought he was kind of weak. I thought Anne Hathaway was a little weak. I didn't really buy in every time. Like I thought she was like almost overacting, or she was a little out of her depth with the cast around her.
Yeah.
And then Robert Pattinson, I sent you, I don't know if you saw that meme I sent you about like the beggars line. It was like, when I'm the A-list line, get these beggars
AMC
out of
A-list.
Here. I think it was more, I think he, like, you know, I don't know if it was him or his character, but like, I kind of like, I was annoyed every time he's on screen, but I feel like he was limited to what the character was as well. So I didn't hate his performance, but it wasn't like oh my God, Robert Pattinson. Like I love him as an actor, and I didn't walk out of there being like, God, he's so good.
I think he was the weakest of the cast. I was a
Yeah.
little disappointed. And I know his character is supposed to be like a sniveling asshole, but never once when he was on screen was I like afraid of him as a threat. Tom Holland, I feel like, was very determined in this to like stay within like the lane, like on the road. He was like, I don't want to get like outclassed here, and I also don't want to try to be so stoic that like it looks like I'm doing nothing. Matt Damon, this is his second best performance of all time, behind I think Good Will Hunting. He was absolutely fucking incredible. And like you said, this dialogue, it's like Shakespearean dialogue where it can be clunky and it can be like it's very antiquated and like I mean, when did Homer write this? A kabillion years ago.
Yeah.
So like I don't know how much of it is adapted like directly off the page, but it can, if done poorly and delivered poorly, it can come off really bad. And he did an awesome job of it. Anne Hathaway, man, she struggled a little bit in this, but she has so many, like every scene she's in, her character has to be like at a 10 in terms of the emotions. So
I
it's
think
tough.
that's the hard part.
A guy who surprised me in this, Corey Hawkins as Polybus, who's like Pattinson's right-hand man. I've seen him in a few things and he has sucked dick, but he was awesome in this. Like I thought he was a better villain than
He was.
Antinous.
I agree with that. Yeah.
Charlize Theron, like let me know when she's gonna age because it hasn't happened yet. She was amazing in
But
this.
I
And
will
then
say that, yeah, sorry. I wish you had gotten a little more of that explanation. I'm someone who kind of did nerd out about Greek mythology back in the day. Like they
was she a
really didn't do
siren?
clips.
Or like
She's
a
a
hybrid
goddess
siren?
who was like, yeah, she was lone. Like there's a whole background to her. She was like lonely and alone, and like she wanted Odysseus to like be happy there. She was giving him everything. And in the original poem, like it's like she saw him crying every day. She gave him everything, yet he was still crying for something. Like
Yeah.
she was a sympathetic person, but was desperate and alone. There's a whole background to Calypso, and like they didn't really give us much on her, and I was a little, but that's more of that story, so I won't go too much.
And hers was like a weird role in terms of the performance because Nolan has this obsession, and this is not a complaint because he pulls it off well, but with this non-linear storytelling. So
Mhm.
everything with her, she like says something and then we go back and see it. So it's like really intercut. Like we don't actually get to see like the progression of her doing any of that to Odysseus, which is like what would have been the meat and bones for a character. I mean, we could talk about the cast probably for an hour, but John Bernthal, I love the guy, but it's just hard to watch him in a period film like this because he's Italian John Bernthal. You know, that's who he is in everything. He's Carlos from How I Met Your Mother, season 1.
Yeah.
So it's hard to like not see him in that role, but I love the guy, and it was cool to like we'll get into this in just a second, but the Trojan horse scene, I fucking loved him in that.
Yeah.
All right, best scene in a movie this long with so many iconic moments from Greek mythology. It's tough, but if you had to pick one,
I'm gonna take two, like, and I'll low hanging fruit, and I don't know if like the shorter one was the sirens, like when they passed the sirens.
That was so powerful.
I wasn't. The score could have. I mean, this is like when you want Hans Zimmer, and I was surprised that Nolan didn't use Hans Zimmer in this.
I think they had like a falling out.
Oh, that's depressing if that's true.
Because
they always work together.
And with Wally Pfister, because he's changed cinematographers the last 3 movies too.
Yeah, that's interesting. I don't know if I've heard that, but I will say this: it wasn't like the score was bad. I'm just saying, like, typically in a Nolan, it's like something I like walk out like, holy shit. But the scene with the sirens, like, it's only a 2-minute scene, but the music that plays there while all the crew has wax in their ears, and Odysseus chooses to like. He wants to hear it, but he's like, tie me up to the mast, like, and he's freaking the fuck out, like, and of course, I think it was brilliant to not let us hear the sirens. The whole point of us as the audience is to like wonder what it's like and imagine.
I think it built the tension and stress.
Yeah. took it to the next level.
And it really did a good job of building up. They didn't focus too much on it, but like kind of the horror and the claustrophobia of being inside of it. Like it was not a picnic being in
Yeah.
that thing. I will take the Cyclops scene. I just think it was like so well structured, the strategic part of it, and I think it's a really crucial scene. Like you might be like, well, you could probably edit that out of the movie if you had to, but to me, this is the impetus of where Odysseus kind of starts to lose the trust of his crew because he's forced to make some really difficult decisions, like strategically, how do we get out? And then knowing the way that they escape, like certain people or a certain number of people are going to die and get eaten by the Cyclops obviously is a tough decision to make. And then I don't know if it was true or not, but of course the rumor that he was the son of Poseidon and that had cursed the rest of their
that is
journey.
true, by the way. Yeah.
Okay, so they all blamed him for that. So to me, this is like really the jumping off point as to how his crew is unable to get back to Ithaca, and like really like all the tension that stems, and it's really like of his storyline, at least the whole like dramatic part of it is him and his crew going forward from there. And then just visually it looked fucking cool. Again, like you said, Nolan does not utilize a lot of CGI, but when he does, it looks really good. Like
I like the take they had on the Cyclops. People were talking about it. I'm like, to me that was more realistic than it's just like a giant human being with one eye in the middle. Like it was. I like that too. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like grotesque, but also like resembled a human enough to where you could like kind of squint and be like, oh yeah, I can see how that would be a person. All right, impact of the movie. I mean, it's relatively early, but as with most Nolan films, like it's generated a firestorm online for stupid reasons for some people. But how do you think this will either sit in his filmography or like what people are going to be saying about this at the end of the year?
I think this is definitely going to be looked back as one of the top movies of the year. Not from a budget perspective. Like I think when people look back, like you and I like to do at the end of the year, like look back and what the year in movies, right? Like I think the Odyssey, whether you love it or not, is going to be on that list because of like the star power, because of like how it's doing in the box office, because of how much it got people talking. This is like an ultimate summer blockbuster. What I love is how much like I love how well it's doing, because again, this is not like your typical like action movie, fun summer blockbuster. This is like a really, really in-depth, can be slow, can be like just like granular, and it's like not for everybody. But I think again, if anyone was going to take this work like Homer's Odyssey and convert it into a 3-hour movie, Nolan is one of the few that could do it. Whereas like if someone else does it, it's like, wow, you butchered that, or that was, you cut out way too much, or didn't do enough, or like, so I think the impact is, going to be really, it's going to be like, of course, Nolan did it. Are they going to look at something and say like, hey, there is an expanded desire from audience members that maybe we can do some of these kind of tragedies, or kind of deeper, not as flashy, kind of older, stories that like, maybe movie executives think that like modern audiences don't have the patience for. It's doing well enough that like it could absolutely change. But then the conversation is it because of Nolan and Damon, or is it because of the audience? So
right.
At the end of the day, I'm sure this will win some blockbusters. I mean blockbusters, Oscars. I won't be surprised if it doesn't at least receive a bunch of nominations. But I think the impact is, again, that Nolan was able to achieve something that a lot of people said you're not really able to do. Like most people would have said, like, you either got to cut half of it or you got to do an 8-part miniseries on HBO.
2 parts or something. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like can he bring Sword and Sandals back? Because I know that was a big thing in Hollywood, a couple decades ago. And like you said, I would expect fully this to be one of the Oscar darlings this year. Nolan proved that he has the Academy's attention with Oppenheimer. I would love for Damon to get a nom for this. I feel like at a certain point when you've reached like a certain level of career prestige, with the exception of Leo for whatever reason, it's people almost like overlook you because they're like, well, you're Matt Damon, you're supposed to fucking do that. But this is a really tough performance to give. I mean, if you think about like what he's being asked to do, even just like if you forget about the dialogue, like his character in this like the time period that it elapses with, and all like he has to deal with the family dynamic, his crew's dynamic, the Lost at Sea dynamic, and then the whole
he's made everyone mad.
Yeah, he's basically pissed everyone off, and he's a
Yeah.
good guy at the end of the day. So, and then on top of that, like the physicality of the role, he's getting up there in age. He's got to be close to 50,
Yeah.
and he looked like Jason Bourne in this. So give him
Yeah,
credit.
I think I mean Odysseus little I mean I know it's called the audit, but like is he literally carries 80% of the film. Like it's
Mhm.
so dependent on him that like the side characters I also feel like why we maybe felt like some of the other characters were weaker. It was just like that had to require that kind of performance.
If Odysseus isn't in a scene, he's probably being referenced in that scene.
Exactly.
So he's
Yeah.
again the focal point of pretty much every part of the movie. All right, last one. I think I know we're going to go with this, and it's not really an indictment on the movie, but rewatchability. I do know someone, Derek Fisher, friend of the pod, who went and saw this a second time in theaters in a week, and I respect it. But as you would expect with the Odyssey, this is when I'm going to have to wait probably till home streaming release, just because that 3 hour runtime is tough. But I do think it justifies it and earns it. So if you're asking, is it too long? No. But for multiple watches in the theater, for me, it's probably just at 2 hours 52 minutes. I probably have to say I'll wait for streaming.
Yeah, I will probably see this one more time in theater, but two reasons why. One, my wife hasn't seen it yet and she wants to. But I've already told her if I'm going to see it twice, I'm going in IMAX the second time. Like if I'm going to do it, I'm going
Yeah,
to get the full theater experience. Like it was fine watching it on regular film, but like I was like, if we're doing this, if you want to go, then let's go on IMAX because like that's the way I'm going to be able to stomach like because it was good and I will and I've said this before and we can with our final thoughts, but like I think it was paced really well, especially when you think about the context and the source material. I felt the third act maybe slowed down a lot, but like I just morally felt like yeah, it's a movie I would watch again. It has enough action and intrigue and but I was like I don't it's not the movie I would like be like, "Oh, I'm seeing it again." It's more so like if I'm going to go again, I need a different experience. I need something. I need something unique here, and that's the
yeah.
IMAX.
I wanted to go in IMAX because I know Nolan shot this and several of his other
Hmm.
movies specifically for it. But my IMAX theater has upgraded everything except the fucking chairs. It's still like they're not recliners. It's like the old school.
Oh God.
And like how in 2026, dude, I can't, especially for a 3 hour
Yeah.
movie, I'm not sitting
For
in those
3 hours.
things.
Yeah. Yeah.
It'll be brutal.
But it is a movie
Uh,
that when I get it on when it comes out on streaming, I'll definitely rewatch too. Like at home, it'll be yeah.
oh yeah, have to. All right, final thoughts on the Odyssey.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting. I think it would be. I think I'm going to need it to digest this a little longer. I do. I gave it originally like a 6.5 out of 10 when I walked out mentally. I think it's up to a 7.5 probably now. The more I've thought about it, um, more so because there was a lot that I know that they had to leave out that I was a little disappointed at, or there was a lot like like maybe I was disappointed with the performances. But as I thought about it more, I appreciate it more because again, they were really limited on what they could do in 3 hours. Because the truth is, this really should be. I'm on that hill. If you want to do the Iliad or the Odyssey, that needs to be an 8 hour, 8 episode HBO miniseries. Like that's the true only way to do it justice. So there was so much they left out. Um, but for me, it was like, I don't know, this might be 4, 5, 6-ish somewhere in the Nolan rankings. I'm gonna let myself digest that for a little bit longer.
I think I have it
Um,
fifth when I looked at
yeah,
my
I
list.
but my overall complaint was the last act, mainly because there was so much in the first 2 hours, 2.5 hours, and it was like so good. And then the
Are you
build up
counting it
into
as
the
almost like once he returns to Ithaca as kind of like the
yeah, and
last
then it
act?
slows down. Yeah,
Yeah.
like once that like it slows down so heavily that they build up so much to the suitor scene. And I'm like, once we got to the suitors scene, like that should have been like we should have just kind of moved. There was a lot of like redundancies in multiple scenes, and I was like, let's just have that all in one night. Like, let's just move all of that direction. That kind of would have helped because then they cut other things out that they like, but slowed down to build up the suitor scene. It was just like that was my biggest complaint was like I really felt the runtime there, and I've always defended long runtimes on this pod. I don't mind a 3.5 hour movie, but it has to give me 3.5 hours worth of movie to do it. And
Yeah.
I just felt like there were some choices made. So that's my biggest complaint: performances and just really could have fine tuned the last 30 minutes. Like the last 10 minutes was great, but like the build up to the last 10 minutes.
Yeah, with the performances, I just know, and I've seen better from the likes of Pattinson and Hathaway. Um, Damon was transcendent in this, and I totally agree with you. Justify the runtime, and I don't. I guess I'm kind of talking out of my ass because when he returns from Ithaca, I was kind of at the point where I was like, all right, I'm good with seeing him like fight this struggle to get home now. Like, let's get him there. But when he got there, I did kind of want that to be the crescendo of the film, and it still had about 40 minutes. I think at the scene where Mentor gets killed by the guys posing as priests, and he like reunites with his son. At that point, it should almost been like, let's just go back and kill the suitors. Like,
that's
we don't
what it
really
should
need
have
to.
been.
Yeah. But again, with a story as dense as Homer's Odyssey, like we could, that's the easiest critique is like, well, what did you exclude versus what did you keep in the film? All right, for our legal counsel, Ronnie Cycli, I'm the mayor, Jeff Hornacek. We are the Bro4 Squad podcast. Follow us on all of our socials at Bro4 Squad. Type in Bro Force Squad as 3 separate words on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, anywhere you find your podcasts. Check out everything we've ever posted in our squad blog and our top 100 movies of all time list, bro4squad.com. Till next time, Cycli, I have this pig stew I think you should try. It's delicious.
Ooh, I would love that. Oh, I did love the line when she goes, go back to your disguises, when she turns them back into human.
Oh, so cool.
That was a great line.
That scene, if I was like 10 years old watching that, would have creeped the fuck
out.
It
was creepy. There was some creepy
when the stew, he almost ate it because he was like, this short rib looks really good.